Dumilang Arsheni Ralocha Sanbanani. Hello everyone. My name is Naledi Mfoloe and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our communities. Now today we dive into the currents of information, from the pulse of politics to the heartbeat of entertainment. We've got it all covered. So please stay tuned for news experience like no other. Today we engage with a topic that stirs significant debate and reflection: the statement that Black people cannot be racist. Now, this perspective, as presented by content creator Brotha Legend, stems from a historical and systematic analysis of racism, positioning it as an institutionalized, power-based construct that he argues inherently excludes Black people from being perpetrators. Now, to begin with, I think it's essential to break down what we mean by racism, right? Racism in its most comprehensive form is not merely individual prejudice or animosity based on race. Instead, it encompasses systematic policies and ideologies that maintain and propagate racial hierarchies, privileging one race, typically white, over others. And this broad interpretation sees racism as an intertwined complex of social, economic, and political power, actually designed to uphold racial disparities. Now, Brotha Legend contends that given this definition, Black people, especially Africans, cannot be racist. He draws upon historical context, emphasizing the absence of institutionalized systems of racial superiority enforced by Africans over others. Now, unlike European colonizers who formalized racial hierarchies through centuries of enslavement, colonization, and apartheid, Africans do not have a comparable systematic legacy. Let's have a look.
Black people cannot be racist. I'm tired of seeing y'all argue about it. My name is Brotha Legend, and I'm here to raise your consciousness. According to Google, the definition of racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. And I'm going to need us to focus in and listen up to the word "on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group." I don't know who needs to hear this, but that Black person that bullied you in high school, or that Black person that was mean to you, was not doing that on the basis of your membership to a certain group. It wasn't because they saw your skin and felt superior and thought of you as inferior. And then a lot of y'all like to try to bring up individual racism. We live in an environment that is hostile towards Blackness and Black people. The kids of Columbus do not get to dictate how Black people react to that hostility. Retaliation on the basis of hostility is not the same thing as antagonism on the basis of race. And nobody getting bullied in school should be brought up in conversations about redlining, medical apartheid, mass incarceration, and so on. Racism requires a systemic belief of superiority within a group. Two people alone cannot go to war. If two men fight each other, that is just a fight. But if two men with uniforms on were to fight each other and their countries were at war, that's a war. Because those actions would be considered on behalf of the group. Because there is no systemic ideology of Black people oppressing non-Black people, there is no systemic racism within our community. So even if a Black person were mean to another non-Black person on the basis of race, they wouldn't be acting on behalf of the group. However, other groups have controlled, created, and even codified into law how they feel about Black people. So when they act as an individual, they are acting on behalf of their group.
Now, in contemporary settings, the argument extends to suggest that racism involves the capability to enforce discriminatory practices within societal structures, something that traditionally marginalized groups like Black people do not possess on a systematic level, if we're being honest. For instance, in South Africa, the apartheid regime institutionalized racial superiority, creating profound socioeconomic disparities that actually still persist even today. Post-apartheid efforts, while significant, have not completely dismantled the entrenched advantages that historical powers dynamics bestowed upon white minority. And in the United States, systematic racism still actually continues to manifest in various forms, such as criminal justice, education, and employment opportunities, where power structures remain skewed against Black communities. Now, Brother Legend argues that without constitutional power, Black people cannot perpetuate racism in comprehensive, systematic sense. And from my point of view, I think that Brother Legend's argument provides a critical lens through which to examine racism more. While prejudice and discrimination by individuals of any race exist and should be condemned, equating these with systematic racism actually oversimplifies the profound and enduring impact of historical and systematic discrimination. Let's take education for an example, right? Schools in predominantly Black neighborhoods often suffer from underfunding, poor infrastructure, and scarce resources. In a racist system, these disparities are perpetuated, limiting opportunities for generations of Black students. And here, the prejudice of individual teachers or administrators, while detrimental, actually creates comparison to the institutionalized neglect bred by systematic racism. And Brother Legend's emphasis on power is crucial. Racism as a systematic force requires the power to enact and sustain bias frameworks. Individuals may hold prejudiced beliefs, but without institutionalized backing, these beliefs lack force to actually shape societal outcomes on a widespread scale. And as we grapple with these complex dynamics, I think that the primary goal must be to strive for systematic reforms that actually promote equity and justice. This includes re-examining and reforming policies that perpetuate socioeconomic disparity and investing in historically marginalized communities and fostering environments that celebrate diversity and inclusion. Now, I think it's very important to actually continue this critical conversation, whether in our homes, in our schools, or on YouTube. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about this? Please, let's engage in the comments section. And while you're at it, please give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again, it is goodbye.